Right. Okay. Good morning. I'm Kate Collins from Britain, from England. I live in the northwest of England, and I've been painting China painting, or as you paint on porcelain. I've been painting for about 30 years, and I have my own technique with luster. I use a lot of luster, and I'm going to share what I do to you, because it's quite an easy, there are some tips I can give you, and the way I do it seems to be different to other people. I don't know, it might not be, you might have heard it all before. Oops. What's that in the background? Are you trying to get it? Yeah, right. So I'll carry on. My main thing is doing every freehand. Now that might be a bit difficult for some people, because I know that China painters, I'm saying China painters, porcelain painters, like to follow a plan and maybe trace things on the porcelain. But I'm a drawer. I do a lot of drawing and painting of my own. And I've got into so much practice with it that I don't actually follow any instructions. I just paint straight on. So I know that's quite common with things like flowers and roses and what have you. But I do all sorts, and I plan it as I go along. And you can also do abstract. If you can't draw, you can do abstract with this method. So what I'm going to show you is how I do this technique in stages. And I've prepared myself. I'll just show you some of the work I've done, and so that you'll see where I'm heading, you know. So this is one of my vases. It's all freehand. Can you see that? It's a bit difficult. There we go. It's like a snowy forest, and on the back, this is recycled pottery. So it's quite old, and I've painted on it. It came from the potteries. So that's one example. This is another vase. Can you see that? And I've got my own style and my own little animals on there. They're like giraffes. Turn it round, and nothing's really even. You know, I don't worry about that. I'll turn it round a bit for you so you can see it. Can you see this? Yeah. Can I not talk to you? Have you switched your voices off?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so that you can hear better. I can
hear you very much.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, just nod then, and then I know that you can see it. Right, so that's another thing. Now, if you fancy doing abstract, this is what now this is easier, because you just paint shapes on. That's an abstract pot. So it's quite a narrow one, so I did all wiggly lines on that. And of course, the luster is in the background. Okay, and there's a little one here. You might be able to see this. I'll just reach over. Almost everything ready. That's another vase. That's abstract too. Triangles and all sorts of shapes. I don't think it's true abstract. True abstract, you can't see anything in it. It's just marks, but it's pretty near to it with a blue background. Okay. So what I do is, I shall give you a list of things that I use. I use either, what do they call it, resist. a lot of resist. And because I use a lot of resist, I don't know about you, but in England, a lot of people use this stuff. It's like a red peel-off resist. Okay, well, you can use that, and that's one I've just painted on, like a pattern. Hares and goodness knows what, mushrooms and what. And this is what I use usually. And you would call it distemper, I've found out, and we call it emulsion paint. You paint the insides of your house with it. It can come in white and all different colours. So this is like in a paint pot, we call it, which is we sell these in the shops as a trial run. So I usually buy a dark colour. Doesn't matter what colour you use, any colour will do. So I'm going to start and paint a hare so that you can see how I go about it. I've got some water here. So I did practice actually. I forgot to make sure I don't put my elbow in anything I've mixed up. So, can you see? It's really just an example of how I go about things. There's a hare's head, and it's all it's painting freehand with resist. I haven't drawn it in. I'm just painting it because if you make a mistake, you can just rub it out, can't you? There's no point in this is my way of thinking. There's no point in tracing or doing anything like that unless you're copying off somebody else. See that? And you can rub this off with a bit of water. It's not permanent. That's why I like the emulsion paint. You can buy black resist like this. Well, but it smells horrible. And I don't like it very much. This is easier, but you have to make sure that you have a good solid line. Otherwise, the luster, when you spread it on, you know, when I sponge it on. You see, I've done hares so many times. I can do it from the side. I'm not a genius or anything. I can just, but I'm used to drawing, and this is the thing. If you practice every night with your drawing, you can do this sort of thing. I do a lot of drawing. I can hear my husband coming in from the garden. We've had a lot of snow.
Well, I finished.
See what I mean?
A bit.
I'm just on this seminar. Can you see that? No, no, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the ladies. So there we go. So I've got a hare there with emulsion. So sometimes I like to paint mushrooms because we have a lot of mushrooms in the woods near us. So I'll paint a mushroom or two underneath. I think it's okay to have a background. I can't paint without some sort of background. I mean, I know people like doing one thing stuck in on china, which looks very nice, but I like to build up on things, and you can have fun doing that. So there's a couple of mushrooms. We call them mushrooms or toadstools. I live in a country district with lots of woods. So I think that's an influence, really. So can you see there? So you just build it up. And if I want to do a tree, I'll go straight through the hair, like this sort of background, like that. So it's going across the background. It won't make any difference to the picture. It'll look good. I'm doing it very quickly, this, so that you can see where I'm coming from. And maybe something like a seed head here, because it's sort of autumnal, we'll say. And then if you follow nature, if you look round about you, you can copy off your local flora and mix it in with you know. I mean, you don't have to do what I do. You just make up your own thing, really. You could do, I sometimes do deer, fairies, and goodness knows what. Fairies in woods. I just like anything a bit quirky. And I always put sort of a little moon or sun. Looks pretty good in the background. That's a bit of a cockeyed round thing, like that. So you see, it's building up a picture. And what I find, you know, with putting lustre on, if you do a line, sort of a horizon line going like that, perhaps in the background, it gives you a bit of perspective. And maybe, you know, the odd bush round the back. A tree. I know that's in front of the hare's face, actually. I can't, that's a bit cockeyed, but that sort of thing. So you're building up a kind of little landscape there. So I think I've done enough on that because to be able to demonstrate how you go about it with this resist on its own. So I'll put that to one side and just give my brush a wash. I've gone and lost my, had some water somewhere. Oh, that's turps. I'll just put it in this water. Now, you put it, when you've done that, I've got something here to show you. It looks something like that. So that's a finished one. It's like a little jug. It's not very big. And what I do then is I get some lustre. So what I do is I sponge the lustre, and I'm trying to find a sponge that I have and I can't see it, which is a bit annoying. Can you hang on a second? I'll just go and get the lustre. These are all my lustres. I've got everything but the kitchen sink in here. That's black lustre there. I'm very fond of black. It always looks good. And I've got emerald, and I've got dark blue here. And I use these little sponges. These are just ordinary household sponges, and I cut them up into little squares. Now, the reason why I've not sponged the one I've just done is A, it isn't finished, and B, you need to leave the resist to dry properly. Best if it's overnight. Okay, so I'm going to sponge this, and I'll show you how I do that. So I'm going to put black on it. It's a bit short of that. Put that back. I must admit I'm not very well organised with the lustre today. Ooh. Now this is dark blue. Not rather a lot of it, but right. So what I do is I just sponge it on. It's not easy doing it in front of a screen because it's messy, but that's all I do. I'll show you when I've finished what I've done, how I've done it. You have to give it a good padding out. I'm getting there. And you see, now when you put lustre on, here's a tip: don't put it on too heavily. I've gone and made a mess of this by being a bit clumsy, but normally speaking I'm okay with lustre. It's just because I'm showing other people, but it's you need a thin coat really, but it's got to cover, obviously. And I think this is an awkward shape. You know, it's why I chose a thing like this, I don't know, but so that's the lustre, and all it is on a sponge. Maybe pour a little bit of it on a tile, and then dip your sponge on the blob of lustre that you pour on a tile. I think that's better than taking it straight from the pot. I tend to do that because I've done so much of it. So I think that's okay now. At the end of this session, I'm going to, we can have a talk about it. And so there we go. I think that's covered. So I'll put that to one side. So that's the next stage. And that's the lustre on there. And I've wasted some. I've been a bit messy, but not to worry. I don't things don't always go as smoothly as you want them to. So I'll just go and I'll just wipe it off my hands now. Sometimes I use gloves, but they can get all sticky and all over the place. Right, so I've done that. Don't think that's a bit of turps. I'll just wipe that off my hands because I don't want it to go all over the rest of it. Another tissue here. Right, so just to recap what I've done so far. Emulsion on a design, and you can do abstract anything. And then when it's dry, you put on the lustre. So that's so far. Anyway, after that, we put it in the kiln. And the temperature I use for everything, I'm talking about when you start to paint as well, is quite low. And it's a 17 cone, and it's 750 degrees to 815 apparently. So it's a 17. Okay. So when I've now finished that, and I've put it in the kiln, and when it comes out of the kiln, the magic appears then. So I did this plate. So I've prepared for this seminar. This is a plate, and it has this rather nice, I think it's Royal Doulton, something like that, or Royal Worcester. And that's from, you just get a sponge and sponge this off. It goes like a brown colour where can you see? So you wipe it all off, the resist that is baked in the kiln. And you've got your design underneath to paint. So I'll just give this a good wipe and you can have a look at it properly.
I might just use both.
I'm doing examiner here. There we go.
Both probably better at different things.
So what I do next, to get a bit of detail in for painting, I use, it's usually a grey colour. You can mix it, you can mix blue and brown, or I've had to do that because I couldn't find any grey. It's just a sort of that's the kettle that's just gone on. So I want to do a little bit of detail on that. Can you hear me? Good. So I have mixed this sort of colour. It's gone a bit dry because I've mixed the powder paint with dry based water, drying, hang on. It's a medium and it's a water-based medium and it dries. I don't know, have you heard of it? No? Well, it's fantastic because you mix your powder with it and you pen it on. So when you pen it on your subject, it dries. So any pen marks that go on your subject will take up the colour that you put on later, and you've got a nice little, you can do your shading. You'll see anyway, I'll just show you. So I'm just looking now for my, I'm going to mix a bit of water with it. It needs to be quite thin for penning. So it's like penning oil, but it isn't. It's dry based water medium. So write that down. I think you can get it from Helds of Holland. I think some of these supplies, these China painting supplies, are very hard to get hold of. They are in England because it's going out of fashion to do this, and it's hard to get the materials. There are no shops that sell it. I don't know what it's like in America. I'm going to put my glasses on for this because I can't see. It's gone quite dark here. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw an eye in with this, with the and I'm separating the ears. Can you see where I've done it? You can't see very well, can you? Can you see? And then there's a little person on here. What I do is I draw the legs in. You could do this afterwards, you know, in your own way. You don't necessarily have to use this way of doing things. And what to do is I put a little knot. I do that. And separate the legs. So it looks 3D really. When I start painting, it'll look kind of 3D, but that's got to dry, and it'll take a few minutes to dry. So I'm going to put that down and show you another example. So I'm well prepared here for you. So I've drawn the inner side of the ear. See, I've not had a practice properly, but it's okay. You see where I've done that. As long as you get the gist of what I'm doing, you can actually. I've put eyes in on the birds. Just makes all the difference. So here's one of those pots I did earlier. Not the same pot. It's not been in the kiln that quickly. It's another one I did. So again, so that you don't forget. This is wiping it off again. So you wipe off the luster. I mean, it's magical doing it this way because you see all your design come. You know, if you put the luster, I'm so enthusiastic about it. All the luster stays behind and the other stuff, you just wipe it off and you've got a place to paint, you know, fill in. It's like filling in a painting book almost. So I love it. I think it's by far the easiest way of doing luster, rather than labouring at something and then having to cover it all up and then paint round it and goodness knows what. This is really good. So that's, and you might think, oh, well, I'm cheating, but you're not, because it's your own design to do it this way. So there you are. I've got something on a toadstool and a hare. And again, the little man on the hare. So there you go. So that's that one. Now, obviously, when these details have dried, I'll do the hair on here. But you have to get all the emulsion off, and there's still a bit here. You know, make sure that it all comes off because it looks dusty, this plate, where it's been. So there are things that you will find out, you know. So there again, I'll remind you of what we're painting. So I've already mixed it, and it's winter. So it's winter here, I'll tell you. We had snow last week. I've got some brushes here. I don't tend to use very big brushes. That's about the size I use for this. And I'm using blue now. Any blue will do. I don't worry about colours when I'm doing this because the main colour is, of course, the luster. So we have a little bit of blue. I mix this with open medium, which is quite greasy. And you can, you know, with snow, you get this sort of blue look, like blue and white porcelain. So that's a bit of snow. I'm just giving it shading. Can you see that? Shade, just a little bit of shading on it, very subtle. It's as though, you know, it's very cold and the light's just catching certain places to give it a 3D effect. Can you see that? Quite pretty. And the birds, a little bit of blue on the feather. You don't really have to do very much. I mean, this isn't going to look perfect because I'm painting from the side, but I might add a little bit of brown now. And this is what you do, you go there. You kind of, this is the tree. So let me see. It's very thin, the way I paint. I don't pile it on and take it off and pile it on. It's just a tint really of that you put on. Because if you do it too thick, it doesn't look pretty somehow. That's my only way of saying it. It can look heavy. So this tree, you see, you can makes the hair stand out. And I've got a bit of yellow here, and I'm going to mix it with blue, so greeny tinged. And we've got these are trees in the background, sort of. So you can see shows up you cover the back. I'm sorry if I keep moving. How's that? Can you see it coming to life? And the hair comes last because of that's I've painted the hind leg a bit darker to throw it back, and then you might want to wipe a bit off sort of when you're doing something like this, which is a bit more exacting. And you see where I painted the hare's face, it picks it up. And you see? So the hair's nearly done. There's this bit here. So the more you do to the rest of it, you know, the foliage and everything, the hair stands out. So it's basically blue and white with a little hint of red, you know, brown. And the little person, I'll just paint this person's naked. I don't tend to put clothes on my people, but I don't think well, they're kind of fairies. You can put clothes on them if you want to, but I've painted it like a pale pink, probably pink with the cold, and then a bit of yellow hair. Which should show up. So that's that. Oops. So I've nearly done a plate, really. And what you can do is you can put a bit of enamel on, like dots, for it to snow. So I have done that in the past. I've put dots on, and they've looked nice. I've got a little bird down here, I didn't see it. So I'm just going to while you're listening to me, I'll just do this. So you can put dots on for snow, make it all romantic. So I like doing snow scenes, but equally, you know, forests with mushrooms, that's a good subject. And if you don't like drawing and you want to have a go at this method, abstract is brilliant. You know, I enjoyed doing the abstract as well, because if you're going, you know, it's they can look jolly, and you can put all your nice bright colours. I think yeah, it's building it up. This is beautiful. It's China. This is China. Bone china. I don't think it's not as, it is strong, but if it's not kept well, you know, covered up, it gets marks on it after a while, and we have to fire it. It's not as strong as porcelain in that respect. I think the glaze is thinner, but we used to make a lot of it in Stoke-on-Trent, which isn't that far from where we live, in the Midlands. And now they send it to India. They get the clay, I think, from India. I tried to get some. I can't get pottery very easily. I was going on eBay and trying to get it, and recycle things, paint over them and all sorts, but you can do that. But we can't get anything. It's a shame, really. You've got to feel sorry for us. So this will fire the same as the luster, same firing. I don't alter the firing at all. I fire it all at 0.17, and that's fine. And sometimes you find, and it will fire if it's done thinly like that. It will go to a shine. Sometimes it doesn't, but it doesn't bother me because you've got enough shine with the you know, with what you're doing, you know, the luster. So there you go. So that's my hair. So on this one, what time is it? Oh, it's 1:45. Do you want to ask some questions now about anything? Would you like to talk about it and ask me any questions?
Kate, I have a class here of, I'll put on the video. I have a class
hello.
here of 9 people that have been
Hello.
listening to you. Hello.
Yeah.
I wasn't
Hello.
having that. Hello. And
Hello.
they have questions. Okay, Darlene, do you want to
Okay.
ask? Okay, what happens if it doesn't, it's the paint has got to be really dry, right?
No, not really. I don't do anything to it. I just oh, you mean when
To
oh,
resist.
I'm getting you now. Obviously it goes on wet, but yes, it does. Don't put luster on it when you've just done it. Leave it a couple of hours. I would
At
say.
least.
Just let it, yes, I would. I mean, I've learned this through experience. Otherwise it might just come off onto your luster. Yeah.
That'd make a mess.
No, I don't really. I made an awful mess putting that luster on here, but I think I'm a bit nervous. I've never done this before.
You've done real well. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions? These are fabulous. Okay. No. I think we're all
I think Ruth does. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes. Fire away.
You need to unmute yourself, Ruth.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Brenda here. I wanted to know, brilliant. I wanted to know when you fire your piece and you're cleaning the luster off, the powder, you know, whatever it is. Are you using a chemical or water?
No,
alcohol?
just water.
Just water.
Just water and one of those hand towels. You know, these ordinary, you know, that you can.
Paper towel.
Kitchen towels. Yes, I use that. Yes. Yeah, that's right.
And the emulsion, what is the emulsion? Because it's black.
Well, you can use any color as long as you can see it. I mean, I've used pink, but black's a good one because you can see that better. But any sort of emulsion, you know.
And is it water-based?
Yeah, water-based, definitely.
Okay.
And it's the sort of paint that you would paint a wall inside your house with.
Oh.
Yeah, very thin, you know. But I buy the sample pots. I don't know whether you can get those in the States.
Yes.
You can.
Well, I'll have to research that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
You can
My-
get, this is what it looks like from Lowe's. Can you see that?
Can
No,
you
lift it up a little. Lift it up.
Oh, that's a big sample.
Okay. That's-
Lift it
Yeah,
up.
that's it. That's it.
I've got it. I don't
Is
know
it-
how high you
Oh,
want
hold
it.
still, hold
That's
still.
water based,
Oh,
is it? Water based.
Oh, darn. I didn't see it.
It's still there. Take a look.
Yeah, I can see
Okay,
it.
turn it there. Perfect. Color sample.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's acrylic or what is it?
That's paint.
It's just like it's dull, you know, when it goes on. It hasn't got a shine. You don't want something that you want water-based paint. You don't want it oil. I
Okay.
think acrylic has I don't know. Just go for water-based and tell them that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. My question,
Interesting.
I have a lot of old, what's the stuff we were using? The shiny stuff?
Oh, you mean
Luster,
China?
luster. No,
Lust-
luster.
oh,
I
old
have a
luster.
lot of
That's a lot
old
of it, yeah.
luster.
Yes.
It's pretty old.
Mhm.
And can I still use it?
I think so, as long as it's not thick and horrible. You know, sometimes when it's old, it goes all thick and you can't get it out of the bottle. You've got to be able to make it flow to be able to sponge it. And
Okay.
you can add thinners, gold thinners to it.
Gold thinner?
Gold thinners, yes. Or lavender oil will thin it as well.
Lavender oil will do it?
Yeah, yeah. Try it first, though.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
would do a sample tile first,
You're right.
and then you're not
Okay.
doing a whole, making a mess of it.
Right. That's great. Thanks.
Yeah, and keep your lusters in the fridge.
Oh, my lusters have been in the garage at a friend's house for years
Oh,
in Iowa. Hot and cold,
I
hot
think
and cold.
yeah, I think you should treat yourself to a nice blue, dark blue. I think
Okay.
another tip is when you're sponging it on, if it's a dark color, sponge it more round the shapes that you put on so that they will show up.
Right.
And put the black round, say if you've got an animal that you want to have as a focal point, just sponge a bit of black around it, and then you can mix them up as you do it. But I always sponge, because it's all right running luster on and being free like that, but sometimes it doesn't fire as well. You can get it very patchy, and I've found from experience, of putting it on too thickly, especially with green. Green is a bit dodgy, and if you put too much green in, that can come off, when it's fired. So you have to be a bit careful with green.
Well, this will be fun. This is
Yeah.
Are
fun.
you going to have a go?
Yeah.
Yes.
I will. Yeah.
Good.
I've seen your
Great.
stuff in some of the magazines, I think, haven't I? You've
Yeah.
had some of your pieces
Yeah,
published.
yeah. Have a go, and I'd like to see it when you've finished.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, lovely.
It'll be fun. I don't know if I can do hares. We don't have hares here. We have rabbits.
Well, you can do anything.
I know.
It was just that the subject was hares, but
Yeah.
I paint all sorts of things,
Yeah.
But I do my own ideas.
Right.
And what you can do is have a little sketchbook and put down your own shapes and ideas in a sketchbook, and that works really well.
Yeah. I would have to draw something out and then use it as a guide until I got going on,
Yeah.
especially using a resist. But
Yeah.
sounds fun.
I mean, you can use this red resist. You can
Yeah,
do the
but that's-
same thing with that, but I find that a bit temperamental. It can dry and
Yeah,
knows what.
mine
And
always
does it
dries
fire
up
off?
in the jar.
Mm. And it's expensive, all this stuff.
Yeah, we use glue, school glue, and water, and
Oh, I've never
food,
heard of
food
that.
coloring.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
and it makes a resist.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
I think you'll find that this is better because you
I
can
think
use
it would be.
a fine brush with this,
Mhm. Yeah.
and it can look really good. You know, you can paint trees and all the
Mhm.
things you like. You know, flowers and you know, it's quite easy to deal with.
Yeah, this will be fun.
Good, good.
Yes,
Good.
thank you very much.
Oh,
You
you're
bet. I'm
welcome.
glad I tuned in.
Yes,
Oh,
it was a delight. It was very nice.
oh, thank
Yes,
you.
it was
Thank
very
you.
delightful and so
Well-
nice to see you and experience a class with you. You just make it sound fun and gave us all a smile this morning.
Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you
Well,
again.
I did tune in earlier, you know, and I got myself all flustered. I thought it was 11 o'clock. And then it occurred to me you'd have to get up very early.
Yes, yes. So I'm sorry for the confusion. It was 11 o'clock Eastern.
Oh, it's all right.
At
Well,
night UK time. Again, does anyone have any more questions?
No.
Okay, well, I will stop the recording.
Okay, stop the recording. I have a
Okay.
question. Okay.
oh, right. Okay.
Okay.